What up, what up? We are live. And we're just waiting on the YouTube to kick in. And let's go on and pull this out for you. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Joel's Internet Show. Anyways, it's Joel's Internet Show. We're back. It's been a while. There was a tornado. We had the impeachment. I mean, it's just been like a month. I've been so busy working, trying to pay stuff off. It's a tough world out here. But anyway, so we're live. We're gonna check and see if it's even working, because you never know what to expect these days. Yeah, we'll close it down. Oh yeah, we're running. I mean, it's going. You can see it. So that's exciting. I like it when things work out nicely. And anyway, yeah, there's plenty to talk about. I mean, the FedEx building got completely torn down. But anyway, let's just pull up some photos of Nashville tornado situation. Get a second keyboard here. Let's just dive right in and see what's going on, guys. Because things got crazy, It's I wish this darn YouTube would work. It doesn't work half the time. This is not what I wanted. Get a little news action.
Easy to see Nashville grow. What's not so obvious is how growth is changing you. News Channel 5 gets to the bottom of every big story.
That's like a really long advertisement, It's like, that's why people just go straight to YouTube now. It's like, you can't trust all that extra. Yes. Not 1998. Just a lot of devastation and
several tornadoes barreling towards Nashville in the middle of the night.
Oh my God!
This morning, a devastating scene, unrecognizable neighborhoods.
It's really sad.
One tornado cutting a 10-mile path across the city. More than 24 people died, including Albie Sexton and Michael Solfini. Others are still missing.
There are still people that are unaccounted for.
Sounds like a train on the tracks.
Corey Quinlan ran to wake his 7-year-old son when he heard a tornado approaching.
That's where he sleeps?
He rushed down the stairs with his son in his arms.
Let's go. We gotta hurry. I'm looking up, and I literally see the roof suck up into the sky. If we would have waited 2 seconds.
Up to 100.
Was a reminder about how fragile.
So he went in and got them out.
the news is just so like, I don't know, it's a very story piece, it's like not really like getting to
Parts of Music City left flattened this morning after at least 2 confirmed tornadoes touched down in central Tennessee, ripping through Nashville.
Sound like a freight train come through.
Missing.
As damage reports.
As cars crushed, as buildings stand roofless, many no longer standing at all. As the sun came up this morning, residents waking to see the full extent of the damage.
I didn't know what to expect. I was really surprised at this. I mean, we've been through lots of tornado warnings and shock. It's like a war zone.
Ensure voters can still make it to the polls in this Super Tuesday. Running to at least 40 building collapses around the city as officials work to clean up the debris, while also working to ensure voters can still.
Yeah, because we want you to still vote. Man, so pretty crazy, right? No. sometimes weather happens, you know. You gotta kind of learn how to fight it. We got a lot of people on Facebook these days. Deep fakes. Yeah.
It's really, really bad.
Where is it? Alright. Okay. I'm not sure which house it is, I can't tell, but maybe I'll get a better shot here in a minute. Just a lot of trees down everywhere, really. You know what? We were going around and it's just like there's so many roads still blocked off by trees. It's crazy. It's just like you can't get places. You have to go around. People can't like make it to work. It's like the whole city just kind of shuts down. You know? But everybody's been pretty chipper and ready to help their neighbors out, and you can tell the community really comes together and makes the best of a bad situation. So that's been cool. That's pretty crazy right there.
Man, this is real bad.
I haven't even seen some of this stuff. Like, I didn't realize that there were some areas this heavily affected. And it's so close, like it's like walking distance. But yeah, I mean, you know, it can happen to anyone at any time. You know, just you never know what's around the corner or what's going on next. Will black voters still love Biden when they remember who he was? It's a little too late because it's already been Super Tuesday. A lot of news about Biden. A lot of news about Biden. A lot of emergency funds going on for the disaster. I was down at Fat Bites earlier. I need to switch to oh wow. 200,000 rounds. It's quite an arsenal they have amassed, I have to say. Impressive. Let's switch to, I really like most recent because you know how I feel about Facebook telling me what to view and all that. I wanted to pull some other stuff up. Maybe I can put that on. Auto scroll action here real quick, so we can really come over here and check something out. I was trying to find a few things like I don't know. I guess it would be in the new rounds or maybe at the bottom here. I thought this was pretty cool. I'm gonna check this out. Cool Nashville shout out. But yeah, so just a lot of stuff. I mean, it's like it's March. We're heavily into 2020. You know, we got weather stuff going on in Nashville, but I mean, the rest of the world. I mean, the rest of the internet. There's a big internet out there. I'm really excited about the S20 Ultra coming out. I think that's gonna be crazy, to be honest. Just to be real, I'm really excited about that. Wanted to see if I could find. Thought I had some sort of. Let's see what we got going on in here. Oh yeah, it's in here. So
We're gonna be on Netflix.
Shout out to my boy Jesse. He's like my #1 fan. Saw him down at the bar the other day, him and his friends. Just wanted to find that clip real quick. We're having a little bit of fun out there. I've been doing this video series from the Purple Building. You might be able to see it if I pull it up here. I'm gonna like stop auto scrolling for a second. I really like these guys. Sort of Elliot Edwards and let's see if I can just pull it up really easily. Yeah, here it is. I really like these guys. You know, some live bands from around Nashville going. Oh yeah, he's talking about the S20 versus the Galaxy 4. You know, your boy Lou, always killing it. I also had this other video pulled up I wanted to think about. I love the value tenant guy. You know, he's got
with all the volatility taking place, not only in U.S., but also abroad, whether it's Brexit, whether it's coronavirus, whether it's the U.S. election, whether it's CEO stepping down, have the rules to money changed? Many of you have been asking me, Pat, I know the last video you did on 20 rules of money got 4+ million views. Can you do a video today on what the rules of money would be in today's economy? So today's video is titled 10 New Rules of Money. If this is your first time on this channel, this is the #1 channel on YouTube for entrepreneurs. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. We have over 1,000 videos you can watch and many great interviews. But let me get right into it. So rule #1, new rule of money. What's #1? Here's what I'd be thinking about. By the way, today's episode isn't just you watch and then you leave. Today's episode is a couple assignments if you actually really want to take advantage of some of these rules of money in today's economy. #1 is the following. You know, a lot of times when market is changing and shifting, a lot of changes are taking place. Everybody is just looking at the industries that are booming. Oh my gosh, look at this industry that's booming. This is so great. Where people who create wealth are looking at industries that are about to go away. So it's not about which industries are booming. You got to look at which industry is about to crash and how to monetize it. So what do you do? If you were to sit down after this video, you and your friends, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, kids, it doesn't matter. You're sitting at a place right now saying, let me ask you guys a question. What do you think is the next industry that's about to experience a crash? What do you mean? Printing 30 years ago was a great business. A lot of people took a hit. Advertising 30 years ago was great. A lot of magazines took a hit. What's the next magazine? What's the next newspaper? What's the next printing? By the way, there are many industries. And if you look at that, then you'll say, what if we did this? What if we did that? Or if you're more of an investor, you can look at this and say, who is actually trying trying to fix this, or who is actually trying to disrupt this industry, then you can look into that as an opportunity, because even though a lot of movements, even though there's a lot of volatility, I guarantee you behind closed doors, if you can find the right ones like this, it could potentially be the next Amazon if you actually take some time and not just look at the industries that are booming, but the ones that are about to experience a crash. Now, second rule, here's the rule of zero. The rule of zero is tough for folks who are very greedy to embrace, because it sounds easy saying it, but let me explain to you the power of zero. So here's what it is about the rule of zero. When 2008 took place, a lot of people lost money. Yeah, they were talking about the 401ks, now the 201k. I had clients, I would go look at their statement, they would say, I only have $380,000. I'm like, that's not bad for you. She says, well, this used to be $790,000. Well, that's a pretty bad thing right there. And they're 64 years old. What do you tell this person? They got to work for another 7 more years. They were planning on retiring for 1 year, but because they were not fully ready and they did not take advantage of the power of zero. Because in 2008, market tanked 38%. In 2008, if you did 0% in 2008, that really means you did plus 38% compared to what the market did. So you have to also be paying attention to the offense you're playing. You got to be playing offense as well, of course, if you want to create wealth. Offense. But you got to have a certain strategy on how you can take advantage of the rule of zero. So when it does happen, you have more that's sitting for you to say, this is my next opportunity to go in, because you paid attention to the rule of zero. The third rule of money today is entrepreneur. Look, I run a number one channel on YouTube for entrepreneurs. If you go on YouTube right now, you type in the word entrepreneur, then you go on the filter, and then you go from the filter on channel, item comes up at the top. If you go, we come up views at the top. Why? Because we've created the content. I talk about entrepreneurship nonstop, but I got to tell you the complete opposite side. I also know the power of being an entrepreneur. Sometimes people become entrepreneurs because they don't have a choice. They're working at a place where the bosses at the top have just completely changed the changed the plans, changed everything, where someone's kind of forced to go out there and become an entrepreneur. But in many cases, you don't need to be forced to be an entrepreneur. You don't need to have that entrepreneur on your Instagram account or on your Twitter account. Matter of fact, you need to confuse people and say an obsessed entrepreneur or a serial entrepreneur. So someone you put on Twitter, everybody says investor entrepreneur. What if you put serial entrepreneur? Someone sees your profile, what the hell is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is somebody that works within a company who acts like an entrepreneur but doesn't have to put his life savings on the line, and eventually earns equity, treats the company like his own business, works like an entrepreneur, works like a founder, eventually ends up getting a department or a piece of the company gets sold, he has equity, he has shares, he makes very similar kind of wealth as many entrepreneurs do. So you need to position yourself. Am I going entrepreneur route? If yes, why? Am I going entrepreneur route? Yes, why? Once you know your position, go play all in, but don't be one here, one here. Which one are we going? Go make that move there, because you can not have a lot of flip-flopping right now. If you're flip-flopping, you're preventing momentum from happening. If you're focused going this side, momentum's on your side. But if you're going this way, then you're going here, you lost all the momentum 9 months you spent here. So you got to be focused to create momentum, because momentum's really one of the best friends of anybody that wants to create a lot of wealth. And if you're distracted constantly, you're losing a lot of it. So you don't want to do that. Number 4. Be a step ahead of the next hoax. What do I mean by that? Look, think about it this way. If you are not a fan of Barack Obama, okay, and Fox News says Barack Obama did insider trading and he did and because of that, rumor has it he did this. If you don't like him, it's very easy for your emotions to get a best and say, oh my gosh, did you see what he's doing? This is what he's doing. You don't know it yet. You just jump into conclusions, so the hoax control you because of your emotions. Now, if you don't like Donald Trump, and let me tell you, Donald Trump, Russia, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, here's what Donald Trump's doing. He's really manipulating. Oh, did you see? And you don't like it. Oh, did you see this? You're being bought into the next hoax. How do you know? If you haven't done your own research, how do you know? Don't let the next hoax get you. Let everybody else get distracted, and you're able to step back, stay strong mentally and emotionally, and say, I don't have all the facts. While 99% of the world is going crazy about this hoax, I'm going to step back. I'm going to let them get distracted. I'm going to stay focused and implement my strategy that I have in place, because my time is valuable to me. I'm not going to let another hoax get bother me, but I'm going to get ahead of it. While everyone's...
All right, hold up. This is what... Tag score here.
The National Weather Service in Nashville has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for northern Davidson County in Middle Tennessee, southwestern Sumner County in Middle Tennessee, northeastern Cheatham County in Middle Tennessee, southern Robertson County in Middle Tennessee, until 4:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. At 3:47 a.m. Central Standard Time, a severe...
Young Perp. And the 9mm is just so wide. It's really nice. That's when I was like, we went up there and like, you could smell gas. And like,
you gotta either go through that way or park your car in that lot. And
you can't get through anywhere after a tornado. It's like there's trees and power lines. It's raining. It's just like you don't want to step. You don't know if the lines are hot or not. I mean, obviously the power's out, but then you got generators going. It's just like you don't know what's. You don't want to dive and get zapped or something.
They built this rig out the window.
I don't know where that.
9 stories high. and we're shooting orange light.
Getting some kind of secondary audio there, but yeah, it's just like.
It might. You think so? I smell gas.
Everybody back away from this building. Smell that gas?
Yeah, I like freaked out because I was like, there's like, I thought I saw some burning, and I thought it was gonna like explode or something. So I was like, yeah, fuck that. That's a dupe. And then where's this? This must be downtown. And then that's over in Germantown. We saw the that building over there. It's just like tore up. And I guess they had evacuated everyone by this point, but it was just. But I mean, obviously you can see, the daytime. There's the basement east. Just completely devastated. The water main was still going. Like you can see the bar in there. Just got real screwed up. And then even after that, like, it was just like some cars, like, just messed up. A lot of people's cars got messed up. Buddy Michael plays. So yeah, overall, just pretty crazy situation. But we move on, and we will rebuild. I promise. How could we not? I love that tune. Oh snap. It's like a straight fight going on over there. You gotta love some Reddit fights. Let's see if we can get some audio.
You got it. Oh! You shut up, huh? Oh,
that's pretty decent punching there. Ooh, we're getting a little.
Look at me. You got it. Oh! You shut up, huh? Oh, we all talk down. I think I broke my watch. You guys don't miss me.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck you doing? Oh, bro.
It's over, man.
You want for more? Woo!
Yeah, that's what happens, man. That's what happens. Things can get pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Oh, I love this. Let's go back, learn a bit little.
Distracted. What industry's taking a hit? What customers are laying off from
Back up.
that I've in place? Because my time is valuable to me. I'm not going to let another hoax get bother me, but I'm going to get ahead of it. While everyone's distracted, what industry's taking a hit? What customers are laying around for me to go get? What talent is laying around for me to go get? You get distracted, I'm going to go get Bobby to come on my team. You get distracted, I'm going to go get that customer and I'm going to sell this person. You get distracted, I'm going to go partner with that guy right here. Get a step ahead of the next hoax. It'll have a big edge for you. Number 5, learn to monetize fear. Very similar to the hoax. People get afraid. How do you monetize it? If they're afraid, they listen to you. If they're afraid, go sit down with them. If people are afraid, go present them your opportunity, your product, your company, whatever you're doing. But don't let fear go away without you monetizing fear. Number 6, study market crashes. Don't just watch what the media or me or anybody tells you. Go study market crashes, and don't look at market crashes as in 1987 there was a market crash. In 1929, in 1942, in 2001, in 2008. No, go look at pre-market crash. during market crash, post market crash. When you look, like for instance, the movie Big Short shows you pre, shows you during, shows you post. That's actually a very good movie that's giving you an idea on what signs there was to tell you that it's coming, how bad it was while the market crash was taking place, and how wealth was made post market crash. So go study all the different market. By the way, this right here could take you days. It's going to take you 6 hours. It's not a big deal. Go buy some of the books and study market crashes. How much money could that make you? Can you imagine, like, everybody panics? Dude, I know the history. I saw what happened over here. Here's what you need to do when this takes place. This is who made money on this side. This is who took the biggest hit. Actually go study pre, during, and post market crashes and see how you can monetize it for yourself. Number 7, know your next moves. Look. Yesterday I had a lengthy conference call with Simon & Schuster. My book is about to be launched. I'm going to be launching the dates here. I can't give it to you right now, but I know the dates. I know what the pre-launch is going to be. I know what the launch date is going to be. I know when you can get your new book and the book that comes out. And the entire book I wrote is about how you can identify your next moves. But pre my book coming out for you, everything, sit there and say, okay, imagine another 2008 takes place. The market's about to go down 38%. What would I be doing if that takes place? What would I do? If I knew this, what would I do prior year to it? What would I do? What would be my next moves if I knew this was about to take place? Well, if I knew 2008 the market was going to tank 38%, what would I be doing in 2007? What would my next 5 to 15 moves be in 2007? Start asking yourself the question and say, what would I do if this were to take place, and what would my moves be? Then prepare. Think about it. You and I are boxing. You're going to say, if he goes this way, and I know maybe he's coming with a left hook and a right. If he's going to throw me a jab, maybe the straight right is coming. If he goes this, if he goes that, prepare yourself. Same exact thing with your money. You don't have to just fight somebody to figure out what your next moves are going to be. Same thing goes with economy. Number 8, obsessively drive. This is very important. Listen to me. Obsessively drive the one behavior that produces most of your results. Let me explain what I mean by this. So I'll go into an office. I'll talk to an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur. I'll go talk to a CEO founder. I'll go talk to a C-suite executive. And I'll say, I'll talk to a salesperson who's making a $500,000 income. And I'll say, let me ask you a question. So what's the number one behavior that makes you the most money? Right now today I had a meeting. I had a meeting today with a whole department. I had about 11 of my guys in my room. And it was a 2-hour meeting. And I said, so tell me, what behavior do you do? This is what I do every day. What are some of the 5 things that you do? These are the 5 things that I do. What of these 5 behaviors increases your value and the value of the company? The first one right here, okay? How much do you get a chance to do this first one right here? Whatever that behavior is. Calls, meeting with people, biz dev, shaking hands, networking, I don't know, coding, whatever that one behavior is. She told me what her one behavior was. I says, what can we do to give you more hours to keep doing this behavior here? And then we cut it out. By the time it was done, I said, here's an additional 30 hours per month for you to do this one behavior. She says, oh my gosh, thank you. So we just had this meeting. I had this meeting 3 hours ago prior to shooting this video. 3 hours ago, I gave her 30 more hours to do what? One thing. Why? Because I know while you may think you have to do 100 different things, you may think you have to do 10 different things. If you in an economy like this can obsessively drive the one thing, the one behavior that produces the most value for you and your company, that gives you an edge over your peers that are trying to do 50 different things. I know the thought is to multitask and to be somebody that, puts your money all over the place and multiple streams of income. But if you want to create wealth, new rules of money, pick the one behavior that produces the most results and obsessively drive that one thing or that one behavior. Number 9, increase your value in the marketplace. How do you increase your value in the marketplace? 10 rules of money. You increase your value in the marketplace, you don't have anything to worry about. I have a guy that flew in today from New York. He's an executive producer, very, very well known. He went to Yale. He went to Oxford. You would know this name if I were to tell you who this person is. A very well-known name in the world of Hollywood and media. Very connected guy. Came and spent a whole day here with me. We're strategizing, talking a lot of different things. When he came in, okay, and I'm sitting down with him, we're talking about increase the market value. He said, I used to do this, I used to do this, I used to do that, I used to do this. He says, I finally realized what I'm very good at. So what are you very good at? He says, I'm good at doing X, Y, Z. And he told me the one thing. I said, I'm very good at doing this thing. It doesn't matter if the market is doing good or bad. That one thing is valuable. Why? Because he increased his value in the marketplace. It doesn't matter if the economy is good or bad or terrible. People need that one thing because his value is high. If you increase your value in the marketplace, it doesn't matter if we got a crash or not. If that value that you increase in the marketplace, people have to pay you. So find a way to increase your value in the marketplace. Some of it could be by the way you think and the kind of research you're doing. And last but not least, this is very important. I like to look at different people's opinions when it comes down to everything. Religion, whether it's Chris Hitchens, I want to see his brother's argument on why he believes in God and why he doesn't believe in God. If it's politics, I want to go sit with President Bush's campaign manager, which is what I did, and I want to go sit with President Clinton's campaign manager, which is what I did. If it's sports, I want to talk to a football coach that says, you win a championship based on defense. I want to talk to a coach that says, you win a championship on offense. I want to hear both sides. And on this side, when it comes down to money, I suggest you study opposing financial analysts. If you only study the one financial analyst that you like the most because he agrees or she agrees with everything you say, you're gonna have blind spots. But if you got 2 financial analysts, and there's a lot of good ones out there. But if you look at these 2 guys, like if you just study Buffett and you don't study somebody that's the opposing belief, like Buffett and Ray Dalio, if you just study one side, if you just do Ray, you don't do the other side, you can have some blind spots. Both of them are very, very successful at what they do. But in times like this with the new rules of money, I say this. I don't know why I say this. Let me see what this guy says. Okay. Well, he does kind of make sense, but I don't know why he's saying this. I'm like more here, or I'm like more here. You get to kind of see the best of both worlds and make the decision for yourself because you're able to weigh out the 2 different sides, if that makes sense to you. So now, these are the 10 ones. Number 1, study which industry is about to crash. Number 2, rule of 0. Number 3, entrepreneur or intrapreneur, identify yourself. Next, be ahead of a hoax. Monetize fear. Study market crashes pre, during, and post. Know your next move, obsessively drive the one thing, the one behavior. Number 9, increase your value in the marketplace. And last but not least, study opposing financial analysts to come with your own conclusion. So if you want today's PDF, 2 ways to get it. 1, text 310-340-1132. Once again, 310-340-1132. And in the PDF, type in new rules of money. We'll send a PDF to you. Or if you're not from the US, you still want this, click on a link below, go subscribe to our newsletter. We'll also send you the PDF. I got 2 other videos I want you to watch as well that have to do with this. One of them is what started this whole conversation. This is a video I probably did 3-4 years ago called 20 Rules of Money. If you've never watched it, it's evergreen. It doesn't matter what time of the marketplace is. It's something that's effective for you to watch. 20 Rules of Money. If you've never seen it, click on this. And I did a follow-up on that titled How to Double Your Money. If you want to watch How to Double Your Money, click over here. If you want to watch 20 Rules of Money, click over here. And if you're not subscribed to the #1 channel on YouTube for entrepreneurs, click on the subscribe button over here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.
Love that guy. It's a great dude. Let's see what Al Jazeera talking about.
Europe. It's about all countries changing their mindset and welcoming them. Until then, they're determined to push their way in any way they can. Natasha Ghanane, Al Jazeera, Dairan, on the border between Turkey and Greece.
The head of the World Health Organization says the coronavirus is more deadly than the flu, but still believes it's containable. And he's warning that the virus appears to be spreading much faster outside China.
COVID-19 causes more severe disease than seasonal influenza. While many people globally have built up immunity to seasonal flu strains, COVID-19 is a new virus to which no one has immunity. That means more people are susceptible to infection, and some will suffer severe disease.
The last patient being treated for Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been discharged. Masika Samido was led out of the clinic as staff sang and danced around her. More than 2,000 people died during the 19-month outbreak. It was the second worst in history after the West Africa epidemic that ended 4 years ago. It'll be 28 days before the latest outbreak can be officially declared over. Well, next door in the neighbouring Republic of Congo, vast oil reserves have been discovered, but they're underneath 10,000-year-old peatlands near the Congo rainforest. As Malcolm Webb reports from the capital, Brazzaville, environmentalists say drilling for oil will unlock billions of tons of carbon.
Beneath this swampy forest lies carbon equivalent to about 20 years of emissions from fossil fuels in the US. It's stored in peatlands that scientists discovered here in the Republic of Congo 3 years ago. The government didn't allow us to go there and film. This is the government's video, but it did allow oil companies to drill there last year. It's licensed oil exploration in blocks of land across more than half of the peatlands. And environmentalists say if oil's extracted, it risks releasing 30 billion tons of carbon stored in the peat.
It will be catastrophic. Even if we try to exploit the oil in an eco-friendly way, we still have to destroy the ecosystem to build roads to transport the oil. It will make this area more accessible for the exploitation of other resources and also endanger its layer wildlife.
The River Congo is the world's second largest river by volume, and the rainforest that sits in its basin is the world's second largest after the Amazon. And its leaves and branches falling from the trees, partially decomposing in the ground that have formed the peatlands over about 10,000 years. They've been discovered on both sides of the river in swampy areas, and the carbon stored in them beneath the ground is as much as is stored above the ground in the entire forest. The Congolese government signed an agreement to receive $65 million of funding from European governments to preserve the peatlands and the forests above them. But activists say the agreement doesn't rule out oil extraction. The country's Africa's third largest oil producer. 2 oil companies announced major onshore oil discoveries near the peatlands last year. But the Environment Minister told us the peatlands are safe.
What we are saying to the international community is that the Congolese government will not touch the peatlands if we ever find oil there. Even if we have to do it, if we find petrol in the peatland areas, we will do our best to do a good job.
The peatlands are also home to millions of people. The government says oil revenues help communities. Environmental activists say they don't. And that if oil extraction goes ahead here, the world's largest tropical peatland and its vast carbon reservoir will be gone forever. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera, Republic of Congo.
Russia's main opposition leader, Alexei Navalny, has accused the Kremlin of freezing his bank accounts. Not only this, Navalny also says the account's been overdrawn by more than $1 million and that family members' accounts have been targeted too. Navalny organised protests last week denouncing what he says are President Vladimir Putin's efforts to stay in power indefinitely. This is Al Jazeera. These are the headlines. Former Vice President Joe Biden has mounted a major comeback in the race for the Democratic presidential nomination. He's projected to win at least 8 of the 14 states that voted on Super Tuesday, including the second biggest, Texas. Biden performed poorly in the first 3 contests, but has since seen a surge of support.
Just a few days ago, the press and the pundits had declared the campaign dead. And then came South Carolina, and they had something to say about it. And we're told, well, when you got to Super Tuesday, it'd be over. Well, it may be over for the other guy.
But Bernie Sanders has won the biggest state, California. He's also won 3 other states, including his home state of Vermont. Speaking in Vermont, he said that the same old politics wouldn't beat Trump.
What we need is a new politics that brings working class people into our political movement, which brings young people into our political movement, and which in November will create the highest voter turnout in American political history.
And it's been a disappointing night for the other candidates. Senator Elizabeth Warren finished 3rd in her home state of Massachusetts. Former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg's only projected win is in American Samoa. Russia has accused Turkey of not fulfilling its side of a ceasefire agreement in northern Syria. It also says Turkey is allowing, quote, terrorist reinforcements to merge with Turkish outposts in Idlib. And the head of the World Health Organization says the coronavirus is more deadly than the flu. He still believes it's containable. He's warning that the virus appears to be spreading much faster outside China.
The pyramids of Central America as well, along with various pyramids within Southeast Asia and the country of Cambodia. But let me be clear, it is firmly stated and taught in the world of academics, historians, and archaeologists that there is no connection between ancient Egypt, Cambodia, or Central America. In fact, it is considered to be, and I quote, French science, pseudo-history, and pseudo-archaeology to suggest that it was possible for these ancient civilizations to have been connected across the oceans and the continents. In fact, there have been many books and scientific journals written expressing just that. But let's take a second to compare the unique similarities between the step pyramids of Egypt, the step pyramids of Central America, and the step pyramids of Southeast Asia. Archaeologists will tell you that the similarity is simply related to the primitive structural design of the pyramids themselves, and that you start with a larger foundation and make each additional layer smaller than the one below it. They go on to explain that this is the most simple structural design possible, and it's just a matter of natural evolution within varying civilizations to come up with this design on their own, again, naturally and organically. I disagree. However, these pyramid similarities are not a main supporting argument for this video, but rather a start point. But I have to say that I do not think that these similarities are just a coincidence, especially when you consider them from a side-by-side comparison. Look and think for yourself. Here's what I would argue, that although in today's world we are separated by oceans and continents, we are still a global civilization that is absolutely connected, regardless of country borders and different governments, and in any corner of the earth, in any major city, you will find skyscrapers. And although they're all different from each other, they're still the same exact structural concept, made of steel, concrete, and glass. Different in architecture, yes, but essentially the same nonetheless. In fact, the very first skyscraper started somewhere, which happens to be in Chicago. From there, the concept spread across the world. It is my opinion that the same thing likely happened with the pyramids. And when you see what else I have to share with you in this video, you'll understand why. And like I mentioned a few moments ago, pyramids are found across 5 continents around the world. And one place that I know most people never knew of is Greece. Look at this here, and although much smaller compared to other pyramids around the world, it is undoubtedly very old and yet very sophisticated. Made up of polygonal stones that fit together like a tight-fitted puzzle, requiring no mortar or concrete to hold them together, simply a makeup of intelligent mathematics and precision. And it's clearly been weathered over what appears to be thousands and thousands of years. I wonder how many people watching this video had never seen or heard of this Greek pyramid before, particularly people living outside of Europe and the Mediterranean. Something else that you may not be aware of involving ancient Greece is that they have polygonal stone walls a couple different places around the country. They've survived thousands of years in some of the worst earthquakes in human history. Most people are not aware that Greece has polygonal walls, as you won't find this structure design in and around Athens where all the other notable ancient Greek ruins are found and visited. And besides that, when we typically think of or hear of ancient polygonal stone walls, the ruins of South America and the country of Peru likely come to mind, which I'll be discussing more of in a moment. But just like the little-known stone walls in certain places in Greece, there are also a few examples in Italy as well. Again, something most people do not realize is you won't find an abundance of this type of ancient stone structure in and around Rome either. And all the other Roman tourist attractions take attention away, just like in Greece. It's also worth mentioning that there are incredible and massive polygonal stone walls in various places in Turkey as well. Take a look at these, and again, be reminded of the massive stone walls in Peru. Definitely not exactly the same, but the concept sure is, and it's unbelievably difficult of an undertaking to accomplish. But that aside, and although these are certainly credited to the Greeks and Romans, we have to ask ourselves why we find something so strikingly similar all the way over in Peru. Not only that, we find similar examples within ancient Egypt as well. This raises questions because, as far as we were taught, there can be no possible connection between the ancient cultures of South America and Egypt, or to that of Greece and Italy. However, what I'm about to show you next may take you by surprise, as there are several examples of incredible ancient polygonal stone walls all the way over in the island country of Japan. Leave a comment if you are completely unaware of these walls, and like I said, there are a variety of different examples of them, and I'm only showing you a few here in this video. But compared to the stone walls of South America, which, although it's not exactly the same, let me remind you of my skyscraper analogy I gave moments ago. Is this really just a coincidence, or a simple matter of organic human ingenuity within different civilizations that are worlds apart? Well, if that's what you think, wait until what you see next. This is a stone box sarcophagus found in ancient Japan. Now, compare it to a notable stone sarcophagus that made headlines around the world in 2018 upon its discovery, with the whole world waiting in anticipation for it to be open so we can see what's inside. I made 2 videos on this if you're interested, but look at the design of the stone lid, and now compare it to the stone lid found in Japan. Both having somewhat of a triangular shape, although not exactly the same. However, now compare the Japanese stone lid to others that are found in ancient Egypt. Wow, this is beyond similar. Look at this and think for yourself. I do not see a coincidence here. I see a connection. An ancient connection that's not supposed to be possible at all. I mean, we're talking Egypt and Japan. Worlds apart, especially in ancient times, and of course, according to the textbooks, there is no connection at all. Now, remember the Japanese polygonal stone walls I just shared with you, and let's head all the way to the complete opposite side of the Pacific Ocean to remote Easter Island, which is more than 2,000 miles from the nearest point of South America. Of course, you know, when we think of Easter Island, the notable Moai statues are probably the first thing that come to mind. Many people are surprised when they learn just how massive many of them actually are once they've been dug up and excavated. Just look at that. However, what most of you are likely to find even more surprising is to learn that there's an example of a polygonal stone wall on this island. Take a look at the details of this wall. I myself did not know this existed until creating this video, as it's the Moai statues that get all the attention. Now, compare this wall to a wall all the way over in Peru. Look at these comparisons and tell me that this isn't a total match. The side-by-side comparisons definitely make my eyebrow go up, because the consensus of academic scholars is that there is no connection between Easter Island and Peru. It is also widely accepted that the people of Easter Island came from the Polynesian islands to the west and settled on Easter Island. I do not disagree with that at all. However, let me quickly remind you of something before I show you something else, which is that transoceanic sea travel during this time frame was considered to be impossible, and again, to suggest it is fringe and pseudo-archaeological, like I stated earlier. So, how do we explain the unbelievably similar comparison to the little-known cloud people statues of Peru? Tell me this isn't unbelievably similar, and again, created at a time when travel between Peru and Easter was not considered a possibility. But that's not all. Compare these statues to others as far away as Turkey and, get this, Indonesia. Although not exactly the same, when you look at the more nuanced details such as hand positions and unique facial and jaw structure, I mean, come on, is this also just a coincidence? And then we remind you that the site in Turkey you see here, Göbekli Tepe, is the world's oldest megalithic site on Earth, dating back closer to 12,000 years, and was buried up until excavations began in just the 1990s. Something you'll find at this same site is the specific stone carving of someone holding a handbag. This is a very unique and specific connection that you will also find all the way back in Mesoamerica among the Olmec culture. This is so unbelievably similar, and to think that the bags themselves, the stone carving, dates back 6,000 years earlier from our first known documented civilization, which is the Sumerians, which they themselves have depictions holding this bag, and they are 6,000 years older than we are from present day right now. Incredible. How can something so unique be just a coincidence? However, that's what science community of academics and archaeologists say about it. Yet, most people walking around society have never even heard of this before. The authorities in the academic world shun it, yet they never even shared it with you so you could think for yourself. So, what do you think about it, having seen about these handbags for yourself? Is it just a coincidence? Now, speaking of the Sumerians, it's also worth mentioning that they share another similarity to that of ancient Greeks and Hindu gods of ancient India, which is the depiction of the trident. But does this prove a connection? Well, by itself, no. But that is not the only similarity shared between these 3 separate cultures. For example, the caduceus is a symbol showing 2 snakes intertwined and found throughout the modern world today among the medical and healthcare industries. What most people do not know is it has been found dating back as far as the ancient Sumerians of 6,000 years ago, like I just mentioned. Well, you may find it interesting first, but let me keep going. I'm sure everybody is familiar. Now, take a look at these examples of stone nubs on ancient sites in India. Many of you may have already heard me and others share examples of these unique stone nubs that are found in Peru and Egypt. Here are some examples found at Egyptian sites, including even that of a pyramid in Giza, as well as at the Osirian as well, and this is just to show you a few examples. Now, let me show you a few examples found in Peru, which there are many examples at various sites throughout this country, and let me point out real quick that I do not know the purpose of these nubs. But it is fair to say that it's not related to moving or lifting these stones as you would first think, because most of the stone blocks do not have them. Only some of them do. Plus, these nubs are found in various bedrock stones, which obviously had no intention of being moved or lifted. Here are just a few examples to share what I mean by that. So, whatever their purpose was, it's not important to the point that I'm trying to make, although it's a fun discussion for another video. The point I'm making here is to show you the widespread global nature of these nubs. And let me say this real quick, that even if the purpose of these stone nubs involved moving or lifting the stones themselves, then I would argue that it's even more supportive evidence of a widespread global connection. I mean, we have different ways of moving and lifting stones today, and we are a global civilization that pretty much uses the same exact technology, right? So, if there was some sort of purposeful stone mark on any stone that we're moving or lifting, that would be because we're using the same technology to do so. So if we find these stone nubs across the world, as you're about to see, then you could argue that it's more supportive evidence that the ancients had a widespread global connection. But getting back to the widespread phenomena of the nubs, here are a few additional examples at various sites in India. And again, notice that they're on some, but not all of the stones. I'll be curious to see comments of how many people that were already aware of these nubs in Egypt and Peru, who are only just now learning of these nubs being in India as well. Leave a comment if you are. But here's where it becomes even more thought-provoking, as these nubs are at sites all over the world. For example, even at an ancient quarry in China. I'd be curious to know if there are other examples found at ancient sites in China, which is not easy to learn, as many sites are closed off to the public. Lame, right? But you'll even find an example of nubs in Japan, which is interesting when you consider what I already pointed out involving the polygonal stone walls within Japan as well, and especially the comparison of the stone sarcophagus to the ones found in Egypt. But even if we head to the remote Micronesian island of Palau, where there is at least one example of nubs on another sarcophagus, I'd be curious if there were other examples that existed on the island, which I bet if there's one, there's more. even as we head west to the islands of Indonesia, where I already shared the fascinating similarity between the Moai statues of Easter Island, Peru, and Turkey, well, you will also see examples of nubs here as well. And if you look closely, you will see more than just a few that grab your eye when you first see the image. But I really wasn't kidding when I said that these nubs are all over. Even if we head back to Africa, to the country of Ethiopia, you can see nubs on a stone sarcophagus there as well. And if we head to the neighboring country of Sudan, to where most people don't even realize also has pyramids and of incredible precision, although much smaller than those of the pyramids of Giza. But someone please tell me what on earth happened to make half of these just blown up or ripped apart in half. Notice that? What on earth is that about? But if we look closely, and I'm sorry that the pictures are not of the best quality, you will see nubs in some of the stones. And keep in mind that these stone blocks are much larger than you realize, and so are the nubs. So these are not just blemishes. Hopefully we can get our hands on better photos of these pyramids and other nubs that may be found on them. But even if we head to Europe, you will find examples of nubs in various countries, including Bulgaria, and again, notice that the nubs are on some but not all of the stone blocks, as well like I mentioned at other locations. But we can even find examples of nubs in Syria, again on some blocks, but most are without them. And if we head to Greece, there are a couple locations that have them as well. Interesting, though, that we don't find these nubs in Athens, at least from what I saw. And if they are, they certainly are not in abundance on the most popular ancient sites we normally see from the ancient Greeks and the tourist attractions that are there in Athens. Even if we head to the Italian island of Sardinia, which is in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, there are examples of nubs there as well. Same thing if we head to Turkey, where you can find an abundance of nub examples at various sites throughout the country, but for brevity of this video, I'll show just a few to display the connection. But let me interject real quick here, since I just mentioned that there are nubs found in Italy and in Greece and elsewhere around the Mediterranean, because some people might jump to the conclusion that, hey, wait a second, this is just a matter of the Greeks or the Romans, but that can't be the case, because as we know, there are nubs in Japan, there are nubs in Peru, there's nubs in Indonesia and elsewhere. So if that were the case, that it was just simply, a Roman or a Greek thing, then why do we not see more examples of these, one, within their capitals all over the place, within the notable tourist attractions that we always see and hear about, as well as the fact we have to say, hey, were the Romans or the Greeks capable of traversing the ocean at vast distances? Because that would completely contradict what we learned in school as well, and what the scientific community says is even possible. So something to think about. So with that said, it seems to me that at a minimum, based on what we've seen so far, the widespread nature of these ancient nub phenomena and these other aspects we've shared so far in the video, that at a minimum it shows that regardless of the ages of these things or who made them, that at a minimum there's far more to the story of what we thought we knew about our ancient past as it is. Regardless of the age or who did it, there's clearly something more that we don't know about. Now let me keep going because I have more to share. So in previous videos, I've shared unique comparisons between angled structures of ancient sites in Peru to that of Egypt, and these are just a couple examples. Now I've also shared examples of that of trapezoidal doorways. So let's head back to ancient sites within India. Look at this here, cut out of solid stone. Make no mistake, these symmetrical angles would have made the construction far more difficult to do compared to a straight line. And I'll give further supporting evidence of that in a second, but look at these various different trapezoidal doorways first. Now, let's head to the opposite side of the world, again to South America. Let's first notice the cutout itself, which is not exactly the same as in India, but similar and with great precision, and equally difficult to accomplish. Now, look at just a couple examples of trapezoidal doorways in various places throughout Peru. Of course, not exactly the same as within India, as these sites in Peru utilize separate stones rather than just one solid stone cutout. But to emphasize my point that the trapezoidal design is far more difficult than straight lines, you have to appreciate that it would be far easier to cut a bunch of square or rectangular stone blocks of the same exact dimensions and then stack them upon each other into the design of the doorway. But when going the route of a trapezoidal design, each layer of block is a different shape than that of the one above or below it in order to achieve the symmetrical angle. That right there is next level difficulty. Now, again, this is not exactly the same as in India, but let me remind you again of the example involving the skyscrapers across the world. All different types of architecture, none are the same, but they're still essentially the same thing, just different. It's worth mentioning that these are not the only examples of trapezoidal doors you'll find around the world, though. In fact, a certain place in Italy has trapezoid doors, and this feature can even be found in ancient Egypt as well. Isn't that interesting? And real quick, the site here in Italy is in Lazio, and it was a tomb. Take a look at a few different photos here. Observe not just the shape of the doorway, but also the windows, and notice that it has false windows as well. Now let's compare that to Peru and tell me that this isn't incredibly similar. In fact, when you compare how there are sites that have both real and false windows and of the same unique trapezoidal shape and in combination of the other same style trapezoidal doorways also found in Peru as we just shared, this should make you wonder. But again, none of these details seen by themselves prove a global connection. You have to look at everything from the whole. Now I had a career as a corporate fraud investigator where I would investigate employees that were suspected of stealing and defrauding the company. And I would gather evidence and build a case that would eventually lead to an arrest and prosecution. And what I can tell you is that in the court of law, regardless of the crime, that if you don't have, caught red-handed on videotape or something of the crime, what you do is you build up a bunch of points of evidence, line items of evidence. At this place, at this time, you gather, and eventually all those lines of evidence lead to what's considered proof and will lead to a conviction. So let me ask you this. When you look at all the information that I've shared in this video, all the physical evidence, the details, is it really just a coincidence? Or when you piece it all together and you look at all the information together as opposed to individually, because you could write anything off, trapezoidal door, it's possible that's just a coincidence. The tridents, coincidence. All of this could be just a coincidence and inconsequential when you look at it by itself. But when you bring it all together, does this not amount to actual proof that clearly there's far more going on in our ancient past than what we ever thought? I mean, let's review real quick. We have gold funerary masks among 3 separate and far apart cultures that are supposed to have no connection to each other at all. We have depictions of cobra snakes at the head of 2 different cultures, along with depictions of the caduceus among 3 different cultures, along with depictions of the tridents among those cultures, depictions of handbags etched in stone, separated by, in some cases, tens of thousands of years when you consider Göbekli Tepe to the connection of the Olmecs in Mesoamerica. I mean, really, is that detail just a coincidence? How specific can we get? We also have the creepy similarity of the Moai statues to others in Peru, Turkey, and Indonesia. We also have a bizarre similarity between Egypt and Japan when you consider that stone box sarcophagus and how similar they both look, and having had no connection between those 2 cultures that were a world apart. We also have polygonal stone blocks found throughout the world, ranging from Easter Island, Peru, Egypt, Japan, and throughout the Mediterranean. And we also have the stone and nub phenomena that are found across the world, including, again, Japan, Micronesia, Indonesia, Egypt, Peru, and again throughout Africa and Europe. Consider all of that, and now take a second look at the similarities between the pyramids of Egypt, Cambodia, and Central America. Do these side-by-side comparisons really suggest a simple and natural evolution of structural design that are totally organic and natural within itself? Or is it when you study the specific and truly unique aspects, and in combination with everything else shared in this video, does it seem to be more than just a coincidence? Academics profusely reject an ancient global connection or civilization of any kind, and they ridicule others that suggest it with essentially name-calling, words like fringe and pseudo, yet they never actually go through and share all of the details with those who they intend to persuade. Look at all these details that I've shared in this video and think for yourself. And isn't it interesting that none of these things were shared with you in school at all? In fact, only a very small percentage of people have seen some of these details before. Of course, there are ancient history enthusiasts that watch this channel, they're subscribed, or other YouTubers. I'm not the first to talk about these things. Although I can tell you that while researching this topic in the last number of weeks, that many of these things, I was blown away. My jaw dropped at seeing the connections between Japan and Easter Island and elsewhere around the world, that This adds up far more than I thought. I was already suspicious and thought that there was a global civilization. I think a lot of people that watch this channel and are enthusiasts for the topic of lost ancient civilizations, they already knew it. But were they aware of the extent of all of this? I don't think it's a coincidence, but that's not to say that we should just start rewriting the textbooks right this second. But at a minimum, what is necessary is a whole new conversation and debate. And these details should at least be presented to the younger generation that is currently in school now. Because keep in mind, this stuff is shunned, right? Even people that study this stuff are oblivious to a lot of these same little details, right? So with that being said, there's going to be a whole new generation of academic scholars and archaeologists and historians that it would be great for them to be raised with a more open mind. Because what happens is, people are raised into being told one thing, and then they grow up thinking the same thing. And then when they hear something new as an adult, they're like, wait, that's not true. If that was true, I already would have heard about it. But again, it goes back to my point that how many of these details have you never seen or heard before? And how is it that the people are saying that no, it's all fringe? But they're not, when I say they talk about fringe, things I shared with you.
When Sandy Kidd goes out to the lock-up garage behind his house in Dundee, he is going into a world of his own. This place has been his prison for the past 4 years. Here he has spent every minute building a machine. A very special machine. A machine which he says will open up the universe.
What I really wanted to do, I suppose, was to create the means of powering a flying saucer, that somehow I could put a machine together, using gyros, in which all the energy could be properly harnessed to produce a lifting force, or thrust, which would be capable of driving some sort of craft through space.
Like most inventors, Sandy Kidd has paid a high price for his brainchild. It has cost him over £20,000 in lost wages alone. He has turned down better jobs. He has cut himself off from his family.
Well, I got so carried away with the thing that I just couldn't help myself. Looking back on it, I don't know how I really was able to subject my family to such sacrifice and hardship.
When I was courting Sandy, we used to go to the library when we went out. My girlfriend and her boyfriend, they always went to the dancing, the pictures, but Sandy always ended up in the library. This is where we spent most of the time reading up books on science fiction. He just wasn't like a normal person. He never was.
Log into Reddit now to access their different topics and everything.
Ingenieur, from which the word engineers derived, means an ingenious one.
I guess I'll log in. I mean, I've never logged in.
The ingenuity
I wanted everybody to get
Professor
like
Laithwaite
a
is built
unbiased
into this
sort of
machine.
Reddit feed.
Sandy Kidd claims it is unique because it can move on its own, requiring no contact with air, water, or solid surfaces. Which brings us to flying saucers. Many people are convinced that flying saucers are real and are used to transport the inhabitants of outer space between stars and planets. If these magical machines are streaking across the heavens of the universe, then one thing is certain. Their technology is far advanced on anything we are using at the moment.
My machine should be able to deliver thrust over long periods of time, years if necessary. This would mean in space travel, very, very high speeds. The acceleration of the device could also be adjusted to create an effect within the device that would simulate the conditions of gravity that are on Earth's surface. And this would completely eliminate the problem of weightlessness. Mind you, the device has other uses
Straight up
than
a
taking
flying
it to
car,
Mars
my
in 34
friends.
hours.
That is what
As it says in the patent papers,
I am trying to be driving.
it is
real
envisaged
soon.
that the device has application on land, in or underwater, and in space, which means it can be used to power submarines and ships,
That is a
might
flying
even have a
car.
flying motor car.
His obsession with this dream sustained him through the years of hardship and sacrifice which it took to turn his idea into reality. He became almost a stranger to his grandchildren, but his wife Janet had learned early on she would have to live with someone who had an inventive mind.
He was always talking about space things, science books, Einstein, Asimov, all this type of thing. I wasn't really interested at that time. I've had to live with it so long.
Coronavirus outbreak. The president is calling criticism of his response a hoax. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. This was yet another weekend in our manic, head-spinning political era where major news stories were breaking one after another. The Trump era has turned all of us into cats trying to follow multiple laser pointers at once. Stock market, Democratic primary, eclipse! For one thing, Joe Biden won a landslide victory in the South Carolina primary on Saturday, and as a result, two of his rivals, Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, dropped out and announced today they would endorse Biden. Meanwhile, the third candidate who dropped out, Tom Steyer, did it immediately on election night, one day after dancing on stage during a rally in South Carolina to Juvenile's Back That Ass Up. I can guarantee that when Juvenile wrote that song, that is not the ass he had in mind. I'm sorry, but nobody wearing that tie should ever dance like that. You look like a chaperone at a prep school prom trying to get the nerds onto the dance floor. In fact, the last few days have been so jam-packed we don't even have time to talk about the super weird fact that on Saturday at the Conservative Political Action Conference, Trump not only hugged but also kissed the American flag while mouthing the words, "I love you, baby." Because believe me, we could spend a whole 10 minutes on that. I mean, seriously, what is going on here? If Trump's not careful, he's going to have to pay hush money to Betsy Ross. This is more intimate than that Lady Gaga Bradley Cooper performance at last year's Oscars. In fact, just to give you an idea of how much is happening this weekend, the president announced that he negotiated a peace deal with the Taliban, and that wasn't even one of the top news stories. On Saturday, Trump held a press conference to update the nation on the coronavirus outbreak, but he started by trying to draw attention to the Taliban deal. And look, personally, I'm in favor of any attempt to end our longest war and bring our troops home. It's something we should have done a long time ago. But it would be nice to have a president we could trust to go here and explain the details to us. And yet, even when he tried to start the press conference by talking about this Taliban deal, all Trump could do was ramble drowsily like he just woke up from an afternoon nap.
Before we begin, I'd like to congratulate all of those incredible people that have worked for so long on our endless war, and we'll be very much hoping that they will be doing what they say they're going to be doing. They will be killing terrorists. They will be killing some very bad people. And again, it's been a long journey in Afghanistan in particular, but this was a very spirited agreement. There was a lot of talk. I really believe the Taliban wants to do something to show that we're not all wasting time.
You're wasting time. Just tell us what's in the deal. I honestly expected an award show orchestra to start playing him off.
It will be.
So the original point of Saturday's press conference was supposed to be to update Americans on the coronavirus and quell fears about the government's bungling response, because the administration has not been doing a lot to reassure Americans. He put his Vice President Mike Pence in charge of controlling all coronavirus messaging from health officials, and Trump himself dismissed the danger at the White House on Thursday.
We have done an incredible job. We're going to continue. It's going to disappear. One day it's going to disappear. And from our shores, it could get worse before it gets better. It could maybe go away. We'll see what happens. Nobody really knows. The fact is, the greatest experts have spoken to them all. Nobody really knows.
All right, first of all, I doubt you've spoken to all the greatest experts. I can't even begin to imagine a conversation between a scientist and Donald Trump. It would be like watching Bill Gates explain the internet to a dog. Second, it's not reassuring in the midst of a crisis to hear the most powerful man in the world say nobody knows what will happen. It's like hearing your captain say, we're going through some turbulence, we might make it to our destination, but nobody really knows. If we do, it'll be a miracle. Just because you don't know doesn't mean nobody knows. Yes, there's some unknown.
Of course, the other thing that we always are up against is the mindset that people have got into about aging, that they've needed to get into for all these millennia that we're unable to do anything about it or have any prospect of doing anything about it anytime soon. What are you going to do? You've got this terrible ghastly thing that's going to happen to you in the distant future, and you can't do anything about it. So you've got to put it out of your mind. You don't want to spend your life being preoccupied by it. So you've got to find some way to not think about it and get on with your miserably short life and make the best of it, right? And of course, the only way one can do that is by somehow tricking oneself into denying that this is such a big deal. And thereby pretending, for example, that it's not really like a medical problem at all. That it's like inevitable and universal and natural. Or alternatively, saying, well, okay, maybe we could fix it if we tried to, but it would be a bad thing. That aging is some kind of blessing in disguise. And that's where all this, that's where all this stuff comes from about, oh dear, well, we've got all the people, how we pay the pensions, or won't dictators live forever, or will it be boring, which I have to spend my whole life contending with.
How do you get over the dictators living forever one?
Well, last time dictator was fairly high on the league table of risky jobs. Not a lot of dictators.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Do you have the same optimistic perception about the ocean?
Well, first of all, let me say what I think about the word optimism, because I know that you're not doing this, but a lot of people, when they talk to me and call me an optimist, they actually mean I'm an over-optimist, and when they call themselves a realist, they mean that they're a pessimist. But anyway, about the ocean, of course. What's the difference? There's a lot to do. One big problem right now, of course, is the ocean is storing a lot of carbon and releasing a lot as it's warming up. So we definitely have to fix that as well, but it's part of the same problem. The less carbon there is in the atmosphere, the less of a problem that is. Direct carbon removal from the atmosphere is a technology that's absolutely, burgeoning now, and direct carbon capture from the ocean seems to be something that's equally plausible, but it's obviously different. So, sure.
I'm optimistic in terms of the ability to clean up the ocean. I've had Boyan Slot on a couple times. Are you aware of him? His devices that he's created to remove plastics and other garbage from the ocean. My concern is wild fish. That the depletion of the fish populations is at an unprecedented rate, and it seems to be we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 years away from a catastrophic, complete collapse of wild fisheries.
Well, right, and of course this is again a problem that can be fixed by technology.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
So let's bring people up to speed. What are the latest revelations? What's the latest in terms of what we understand? In terms of what could possibly be fixed about human aging?
All right, so the fantastic answer to that question is there are no new revelations in terms of what we understand. Our understanding seems to have been pretty much complete already, like 20 years ago. The fact that we haven't found out any fundamental new stuff that we didn't know before then is fantastic news, because of course it means that we're unlikely to find anything out in the future either. It means that we are pretty much on top of the description of the problem.
There was an age of reptiles. Now it's the age of primates. Who knows? Maybe
Is it possible to summarize the problem? What causes human age?
So aging is simply the same thing in a living organism like you or me, which is in a car or an aeroplane or any other simple man-made machine. It's a fact of physics, nothing to do with biology, that any machine that has moving parts is going to do itself damage in the course of its normal operation, as an intrinsic consequence of its normal operation.
Okay.
So in the same way that a car rusts...
James is going to bring that microphone up.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, try to keep it about a fist from your face.
Sure. So in the same way that a car rusts, or accumulates junk in the oil or whatever, similarly the human body does damage to itself. And again, just like a car or an aeroplane, the human body is set up to tolerate a certain amount of that damage, so that we can get through to the point where we have kids before we start going functionally downhill, whether mentally or physically. But after that, evolution doesn't care about us anymore, and therefore we are only equipped to tolerate that much, and eventually the damage that's being done accumulates to a point beyond what the body's set up to tolerate, and that's when things start to go wrong, and we start to function less well.
What is the difference physically between a younger person and an older person in terms of their ability to recover from the damage of just regular everyday life and exercise and abuse and running around?
Yeah, all that. So that's just one aspect of the difference between a younger person and an older person. So let me answer that question by stepping back one step.
Okay.
So the difference ultimately arises from what the body is made of, at the molecular level and cellular level. The body accumulates various changes that are chemical and biological consequences of what the body has to do to keep us alive from one day to the next, even starting before we're born. And those changes, the reason I'm using the word damage to describe those changes is because eventually things don't work so well. So you're quite right that recovery from injury is one thing that doesn't work so well, but there's still plenty of other things, whether it's how fast you can run, how fast you can think, how strongly you can grip something, how fast you can walk, all these things become progressively less good. But the point is that the amount by which they become less good is pretty negligible until the age of 40 or 50. It's only then that the decline starts to accelerate.
So what do you do in your own life to try to mitigate that acceleration?
Yeah, I'm a really bad example of this. For two reasons.
That's crazy, but this is your business.
So there are two reasons why I'm bad at it.
Okay.
The first reason is that I'm really well built. I'm just lucky. I'm just one of those hateful people who...
The Joe Rogan Experience.
What was the research done with mice with myostatin inhibitors? Did that not increase lifespan as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of things have extended lifespan a fair bit. But what we have at the moment is not all the components of what I just said. If you do something genetic to mice, or if you do it to them throughout their lives, then we can already get that year and a half out of mice. Certainly a year. Okay? But not if you start at 18 months. If you start at 18 months, the best we can do is maybe 4 months. So that's the difference. You've got to be able to start late and get the big extension. And you're not going to get that without bona fide rejuvenation.
So that's not going to come by way of genetics?
Well, even if it did come by way of genetics, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't persuade my colleague or me that we were on the brink of doing it for humans who have the misfortune of being already alive.
So the rejuvenation is going to come through some sort of biologics?
Well, yes, through the kind of things we're working on, as I mentioned earlier. Yes. Stem cells, gene therapy to do various things to introduce, for example, bacterial enzymes that can break down waste products, senolytics I talked about, pharmaceuticals to do other things.
What about the use of CRISPR?
Sure, CRISPR is a very, very important part of this. So,
can you please explain what CRISPR means? People don't know what we're talking about.
Sure, yes. So CRISPR is a technology that was first developed about 8 years ago now, and it is the exploitation of a bacterial mechanism that allows bacteria to defend themselves against viruses. Essentially how it works is that it allows us to change the sequence of our genome in a particular cell in a very specific way. Basically, it's often called gene editing. And there are other technologies for gene editing that already existed before CRISPR, so very laborious, very expensive and very clunky. This is far, far cheaper and easier to use. So what that does is it allows us, for example, to inactivate a gene, or for that matter, to change the sequence of a gene from a mutant form into a normal form, so that it works when it was not working. Now, doing that in the laboratory, in a petri dish, is fair enough. The question is, can we do it in the body? And initially, no. Initially, this technology was too error-prone. It was prone to do what George Church has called genetic vandalism, and have what's called off-target effects. In other words, basically do other changes to the genome elsewhere that you didn't want. But, of course, people have known this, and people have been working really hard to improve the technology, and it's getting to the point now where it's possible to actually use it on humans, maybe. It's getting there. Now, you can't do everything with CRISPR. One thing you definitely can't do with CRISPR is insert new genes into the genome, and that's something we really need to be able to do. But actually, one of our big projects is a kind of two-step thing where we use CRISPR to make a small change to the genome that allows us to insert large genes, what we couldn't previously. So CRISPR is huge. And it's huge not only in aging research, but across the whole board of biomedical work.
They have done some work in China, apparently, on live human beings.
So this was very controversial. What happened was that a group in China used CRISPR to alter the DNA of embryos that were going to use for IVF. And the change that was made was itself quite a curious one. Essentially what they did was they tried to change a gene called CCR5 into a mutant form that doesn't work, but that in an inactive form protects the body from infection by HIV. This is something that was discovered a long time ago, and then 1% of people have this at the time. And so it was introduced. unfortunately, first of all, it probably wasn't done very well, but also, well, people looked at the process, and it probably didn't make the correct modification. But also, it's not clear whether doing it for someone lifelong is actually a good thing, because it's an inactivation of a gene that must exist for a reason, or it wouldn't exist at all, right?
But didn't it also have a side effect of increased intelligence?
That is complete speculation.
Is it? Yeah. What would cause them to speculate that?
People speculate all the time.
You think that's just like clickbait stuff that gets people excited about it? Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
But yeah, so anyway, the other thing was that it's not obvious why it's even worthwhile to make an embryo genetically resistant to HIV. First of all, they don't have HIV yet in the first place, and they don't get it. And secondly, we've got drugs that work pretty well to control HIV antiretrovirals. So it's not obvious why this was a sensible thing to do in the first place. However, it's only got a whole bunch of debate going. So yeah.
Well, when I hear about something like that, I always assume, first of all, just American prejudice, you assume it's in China they're doing something crazy, right? And you also assume that if they're telling you about someone who's been altered, that means that they've probably been doing this for a decade. Or since CRISPR was initiated.
Yeah,
you never know. It's interesting to me, and I don't know what they do on people, but when they do it on people, I'm fascinated.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's the attitude that I have, and a lot of people have, to medical therapists in general.
Yes.
That these are not adequately regulated treatments, and they are certainly not adequately characterized. In other words, the people who get the treatments are people who pay for them rather than people who have been chosen to be in a standardized group of any kind, and they tend to be very follow up. But still, it's better than nothing in the sense that some information exists about the efficacy of these treatments. The more it gets better, the more people who are administering these treatments can be induced to reveal that but some scientists, quite a lot of scientists, take a much stronger view that we just should oppose all of this, period. And we should just say, everyone who indulges, who gives treatment to people in offshore places should be shut down as best we can and should be demonized. I don't really think that's true. I think there's a halfway house.
This is going to be a good one, I can tell.
Personally, I've had
what is your
My
explanation,
mother
sir?
has gone to Panama twice, and she was now she walks without pain.
Yeah, I bet you went to a nil group.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who have very good stories out of nil group, and of course, things you don't know unless someone has a really bad story, whether things are going wrong. So I don't know what Neil releases numbers, but it's total number of patients per year that he treats, so we don't know if it's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just do know that I have spoken to several fighters from the UFC that have gone down there, and again, my mother she didn't want to get a knee replacement. So when I sent her down there, and it took, I'm 52, she's 73, so it took her somewhere around 6 to 8 months before she started feeling anything. She was really worried that it wasn't going to work. But then 8 months in, just the pain just went away, and it's continued to get better, and I sent her down a second time, and I'm going to keep sending her down there. It's had a pretty profound effect. But what's fascinating to me is they do 3 days of intravenous therapy, and the intravenous therapy has, I don't know if it's just my imagination, but she looks younger. Like she looks more vibrant. Like when I saw her, she came to my house for Christmas, and she looked better. She looked a year younger than she did the last time I saw her.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we would hope that stem cell therapy would do. But I remind you of what I said about that original Parkinson's trial from more than 25 years ago.
Right, for 50
we
years.
really didn't. I mean, no, that was
the one that was effective.
Right, exactly. So only a few people benefited. The people who did benefited enormously, but a huge number of people had no benefit.
Yeah.
Now, that is the kind of stage we're in for a lot of stem cell therapies right now.
Mm-hmm.
Parkinson's disease is a kind of outlier in the sense that the desired function of the stem cell is really well understood.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of stem cells to introduce into the body and where to introduce them is, not in doubt. Most stem cell therapies are not that far along. So every time anyone gets treated right now, it's still an experiment. And that's okay, up to a point. But it does mean that we're on a learning curve, and it's vital to have the people like Neil, who are administering this therapy to quite a lot of people, to actually not just, live off the stories of high-profile people who get good benefits and talk them up, but actually to go out and release the full data, uninterrogated, including negative stuff and including follow-up. That's the key thing.
Yes.
Because so many therapies in regenerative medicine in general have the potential to be beneficial over the first few months to a year or whatever, and then to start having side effects that are detrimental.
What have you heard that are detrimental side effects?
So, well, of course, the biggest thing that we always have to worry about is cancer, because, and I think it's true for a whole bunch of things, telomerase activators and so on. The thing is that aging can, in some senses, be characterized as a trade-off between cancer and everything else. In other words, a huge amount of what goes wrong with the body late in life is as a result of a kind of dialing down of regenerative functions that we actually do naturally have in the body, but which are not as active in older people as they are in younger people. And so, of course, we have to ask, why are they less active? And a lot of biologists, including myself, believe that a huge part of that is adaptive. In other words, it is kind of the body recognizing that there is, as time goes on, a progressively higher number of cells in the body that are almost cancerous, and they have to be kind of kept in check in order not to become properly cancerous. Because, of course, cancer is the result of a gradual accumulation of mutations and so on in the cells, right? And so, yes, every time that you are improving regenerative capacity, whether of the cells that you put in or, more importantly, of the cells that are nearby the cells you put in, you are potentially taking a risk of hastening the onset of actual cancer.
It just seems the problem with marijuana is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tennis my count, ladies and gentlemen. Before we were just discussing how I was saying that marijuana can be your friend and it can enhance your life. But if
Alright, y'all. I'm probably gonna dip out because it's late. So, I'll holla.
Joel's Internet Show.
Today on Joel's Gents.